My baby looking too good, yeah, she perfect. No, she worth it. When she pull up, all them man, them flirting. And yeah, she know that she a dime. Call up on my line. Told her, baby, bring it one time. Yeah. Girl, sit down and relax.
Yo, what's really good though? It's your girl Yezzi is there, and you are locked in for another banging episode, if I may say so myself, of Hey Sis. We got the honourable good sis Ree Rose in the building.
Hey, hey.
Yes, and we're going to be getting into it. But first things first, Ree, how you doing?
I feel good. I can't complain. The weather's been good.
It's been decent.
Yeah, the vitamin D has been,
Entering the body.
Yeah.
Yeah?
But it's about to go downhill.
Yeah, it was raining like crazy yesterday.
Yo, listen.
I was in heels running in that.
Oh, no. You're brave. I cannot.
I had to. Parking was running out.
Oh, no.
So
yeah.
I just had to do it real quick.
Yeah.
Listen, it was crazy. But guys, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, big thank you, because we are just hitting all the milestones. We are currently building a team for Hey Sis. So not only should you donate to the GoFundMe so we can pay people fairly, we're all about fairness here. If you feel like you have a skill set that coincides with what we're doing on our platform, send us a DM or email us. I'll put all the information in the description box on how we can build something massive, trust and believe. Until then, we are about to go into so many layers, so many things. Trigger warning.
Yes.
Our intention for this episode isn't to be rude.
No.
It is to speak our truths, or the truths of sisters that we know and the sisters that align with us. And bros, if you're listening in, okay, like some spies, okay, get into it. Come a bit closer and get yourself a cuppa. If you like what you see with the Hey Sis mugs, you can get yourself one down below in the description box. But on today's episode, Ree,
Yezzir.
we're going to be talking about, are men getting lazier? Unpacking the myths and the misconceptions and just the damn truth. Let's get into it.
No facts.
So what do you think? When you hear the fact of, in today's day and age, are men getting lazier, what comes to mind?
I feel like there is a stigma that men have to uphold and maintain a certain level. And the moment that they go below that, they are branded as that. I feel like there's not enough spaces in order for them to be vulnerable. I think mental health has a lot to play in that arena. And I think it can be perceived as laziness if somebody doesn't continue to maintain that level. Now, don't get me wrong. There are bums. There are homosexuals. There are. But I feel like on the most part, like how we feel about the narrative of the strong black woman,
Yeah.
there's also a narrative of a strong black man.
Okay.
That they have to uphold a certain standard. And anything less than that is deemed to be weak or lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we look at, it's turning into a bit of not the blame game, but it could easily fall into that realm of the blame game.
100%,
Because who do we blame for the potential misconception of what a lazy man looks like? We've got societal expectations.
Yeah.
The man of the 1950s is no longer the man of the millennial.
No.
So what you deem appropriate, maybe hours for a man to work, the role that a man takes within the household, should we come to terms with the fact that that's never going to happen? Or is it actually okay to have those standards?
I think everybody has a hard time of learning what the balance is for them individually, not what society or everybody else deems that level to be.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to, I don't know, I feel like there's this whole macho energy. Like sometimes it's one-sided and very in a way that I need to be doing all of this to maintain that standard. I don't want to be branded as a lazy man. If I don't do this, I'm going to be branded as a lazy man. But then where do you take the time to give yourself grace and space so that you don't have burnout? You don't end up with mental health issues. So where's the balance in that if they're not having those spaces to do so without looking like they're lazy?
Yeah. I think one big thing about the lazy man is also looking at the man's earning power.
Yeah.
I think we need to accept that our brackets of earnings. I think we have to accept the fact that what you might see a man operate and do when he's on 100K, you shouldn't expect that from the man on 25K.
No, 100%.
Only because the reality of it all is that the 100K man that's on that kind of salary, maybe living in a capital city, yes, he can afford to put you on a very healthy allowance.
Yeah.
You see it all the time with these women that live in Dubai and their men are businessmen or they're princes or they're sheikhs, whatever.
Yeah.
yes, they can do that because of the capacity they're offered.
Yeah.
So when you're sat down and you're looking at the man that earns 25k,
Yeah.
what can you realistically expect from him in the realm of a relationship? And is it fair?
It's not fair. I think some women forget that men also go on the same journeys that we do. Just a journey in itself.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they have to climb and jump over certain things as we do to be able to earn certain incomes. Ultimately, depends on where they sit, the industry, whatever the case may be. Now, we all know how unfair pay banding in this country is because it doesn't match cost of living. But if the man is not educated to a certain point or doesn't have a certain level of experience, he's only going to be able to provide a certain level of income.
Yeah.
And based on his own knowledge and how he navigates the recruitment industry, he may not know how to leverage himself to be able to get that money. But I think no one thinks about the steps that have to be taken before they end up in a pay band and giving that person grace as to that 25k for him could be a milestone. He could have been on 18k for the best part of 5 years.
Yeah.
And then be on 25k and be like, oh my God, I've made it somewhere else. But no one's not thinking about the journey before that. This is what you have to offer me. It's not good enough. But you don't know where he came from.
Yeah.
And you want to be given the same grace about where you came from and how you got to where you got to, but you don't want to give him the same.
Yeah.
There's this expectation of like, a man is just supposed to have like this.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that because I'm dismissing everything that he had to go through to get to that point.
Yeah. I think the level of expectation we should have also is good. That's why with dating, you have to know where someone's coming from.
Yeah.
So when you have this expectation, find out, is he the first person in the family to go to uni?
Yeah.
Because then it gives you an idea of, okay, this is the class he's coming from.
Exactly.
Is it working class? Is it
Yeah.
lower middle class?
Yeah.
So there's a level of intelligence, emotional intelligence
Yeah.
that he's been offered while growing up.
Exactly.
Maybe his parents, the most they've ever had is maybe a secondary school education.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can pass down to someone.
Yeah.
And when someone's going through a lot of firsts on their own,
Yeah.
having to discover a lot of things on their own, practically raise themselves.
Literally.
Let's really just
Yeah.
call it like that.
Yeah.
When a man is raising himself, there's a certain pace that he might have or a way in which he goes about things that it
Yeah.
might be a bit weird for you.
Yeah.
Because you might come from, let's just say, a middle class family.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've always been given these things, told these things from an early age.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, right, like your pace is kind of, but it's different.
Yeah.
Maybe he's coming from a single parent household.
Exactly.
So even his earning power is going to be split for a while. You
Yeah.
hear it all the time where men feel torn in having to date and also having to show up for their mum.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
Catering to two women,
Yeah.
technically in the same way,
Yeah.
but one is your mum and the other is your partner.
Yeah.
And someone has to explain it to them. You have to be the Grinch and say, hey, this is different.
Exactly.
It's not what you're supposed to be doing.
No.
But then you feel the guilt of, but I can't leave mumsy.
Exactly. And I think the element of like the cultural influence as well is wherein that's not taken into account.
Okay, what are we talking about when we talking about culture and the lazy man?
So I feel like, I remember like one of my brothers when he got his first job, everybody, so I'm half African, yeah?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, yeah, so you know that first paycheck,
Yeah.
what you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
what you gonna take us out to eat? Like where's the money gonna go? And I know it may be in jest, yeah, but I feel like it creates a pressure sometimes
Yeah.
on a young boy trying to navigate himself through this life, but feeling like he is not just financially tied to himself, but to his other family members.
Yeah.
And then there's an element of like wanting to work harder because you feel like you have that responsibility to the point where like you don't, sometimes it feels like you're not actually moving as a man because there's a expectation of pace that they make you feel like you have to make this money by this time so that you can do this to provide for this. And no one takes into account what they have to do to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need to see what's going on in our economy first before we have expectations for people.
Yeah.
There's a real weird entanglement with the African community, yeah.
Yeah.
And they might not want to agree with it, but there's this term that people throw around where they go, oh, you need to make sure you marry on time.
Yeah.
Now, this marrying on time, is it to make sure that you're married before a certain age? Are we taking into account that things have changed economy wise. Things
Yeah.
have changed societal structure
Yeah.
wise. So when you tell someone, oh, you need to marry on time, you need to have kids on time,
Yeah.
do you know the kind of pressure you're putting on someone on a mental basis?
I don't think they do, because I think for them, it trickling down is just a way of life. It's just their norm. So then they carry it on to their children, but the Western world we live in is very different.
Oh,
It's so complex that they don't take that into account because they're so focused on what is normal to them.
yeah.
Yeah, and their definition by their time.
That operative word being there.
Yeah.
Because when you say, oh, you need to marry on time, have you seen what the dating pool is looking like?
Yeah, it's
When
not
you say
cute.
it's not looking good,
No.
it's not looking good, and I'm glad I'm out of it.
Yeah.
When you say you need to have kids on time, okay, do you know the type of world we're living in right now?
Exactly.
I know some people that aren't even comfortable raising their children where they live.
Yeah,
They're still trying to move out into better places
Exactly.
to raise children
yeah,
before even coming up with that concept.
yeah,
This is a whole nother human being, and it's kind of so flagrant, not even so flippant, the way some aunties will say, oh, go and have some kids.
literally,
It's like you're buying a new pair of shoes.
literally. And it's hard because it's like, yes, we understand it takes a village to raise a child, yeah, but when it really comes down to it, to the nitty gritty, and you need help with your child, you get told all kind of things.
Oh,
They can't help you, they can't do this, or just leave the child with me and go and work. You can just, I'll take it. It's just so wild, like how I feel like in the African community, like there's so much that they like to dictate so much in the way that you should live your life, but then want to be so hands off about it at certain times.
that's some nasty work, though. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Because there are people that have had children on that basis.
Yeah.
And that rude awakening of, oh wait, hold on, no one's gonna help me.
Yeah,
But you all said you would come through.
exactly.
Mad.
Yeah.
And this is when we have to talk about mental health. So when we're talking about the lazy man, and we talk about, okay, are men getting lazier when they have to be part of a family structure? Because you see nowadays that
Yeah,
the guys from the ends in particular,
yeah,
they have a hard time transitioning into being family men.
yeah,
They've always known themselves to be quite boyish.
yeah,
And there's nothing like being part of a family of your own that forces you into manhood. And a lot of them drag their feet, and then they get called lazy.
yeah,
So some of the things that you'll notice that people would perceive to be a lazy man in the family structure would be that, okay, financial responsibilities.
Yeah.
What do you do with your time when it comes to not just your partner, but your children? Are
Yeah.
you ready to show up for them?
yeah.
How does someone say, okay, in the nicest of ways, you're being lazy in this point in your life?
Yeah.
It's not going to work for us.
I think it's hard because at the same time, everybody goes through things at different paces. Everybody wants to achieve things at different paces. And ultimately, I think as a man, you really have to understand and know what it is that you want. Like, if you want children, you have to know that. If you want a family, you have to know that. And in you knowing that, the realms of understanding what it takes to get there, you will be more comfortable with. I think there's so much going on in the world for men that sometimes those things get lost in the journey. Like,
Yeah.
it's no longer a priority. And then ultimately, especially where they come from or their family dynamic, if they don't have, if they carry negative trauma around that dynamic, it's not something that they're going to jump straight in and want to do. There's always going to be that hesitation. And then the dating pool doesn't help that either, because it's like, well, this is how my mum raised me. I want someone like my mum. Or if they're not like my mum, I want somebody that's not going to be like my mum. I want a different dynamic to how my parents were. Trying to find that in this day and age is very tricky.
Oh, it's so tricky. And dating in spite, I think, is the worst thing you can do.
100%.
Because when you try to when you date in spite, saying, I want to find the polar opposite to my mum, or I want to make sure I don't get treated like my dad, you blur the lines of what it is you actually want or what you actually need as a person.
Yeah.
And you're not even dating in your authentic self.
No.
You're dating and you're carrying the trauma of your family structure through
Yep.
the eyes of a child.
Yeah.
When you are a grown man dating
Yeah.
as to, okay, what do I need as a man
Yeah.
for the relationship I want, the family that I want? When we talk about, like you said, giving grace to men in the times that we're in,
Yeah.
how is it that you're able to give grace but then still have a firm hand in the sense of, okay, but we need you to show up right now? because we talk about grace all the time.
Yeah.
We've spoken about previously women being able to be soft.
Yeah.
But when you have to have that conversation of, by the way, you might not know this because, okay, we've grown up. You make the jokes about certain communities and how some men in certain communities are typically lazier than others. This is traits from 3-4 generations where they've never seen what hard work looks like.
No.
And sometimes you have that one girlfriend that's with a guy that you know is lazy and you can't tell her because she's in awe, she's infatuated by him. You can't say anything.
I think it's hard because, see, I'm a grey area type of person.
Really?
Yeah, I am. And I think that's because I've gone through my own experiences and have my own understandings, yeah? But I think it's hard because she may have work to do as to why she may be complacent as to him being at the level that he's at in his laziness. Yeah. And ultimately, I don't know what's going on with him as to why he is where he's at. Yeah. And I think one thing that we do sometimes, which I think is very hard, is we brand people as certain things because we don't feel like they're acting how they should be at the point that you feel like they should be. Yeah. Rather than trying to understand to build that person up. Like, I think ultimately anybody can be lazy. Yeah. I think with men, the reason why it's looked at, why it's put under a microscope so much is because the level for them is so high. It's like emotionally, you lot shouldn't even dabble too much in that realm. Like, you should just get up and go and provide, go and do this, go and do that. And then the moment that it falls beneath that for any reason, there's no kind of like understanding or willingness to understand why that's happened, but we just brand as lazy. But saying that, I know somebody that used to work, got made redundant twice, refused to work because they were so triggered by being made redundant. But then it got to a point where 25 years later, they still didn't work. So it pours into being lazy at that point. Because I think the laziness feeds into you not wanting to change the trauma that you had behind being made redundant to the point where it made you lazy.
You know what's going through my head, Ree, right now?
Yeah.
You said this person's not worked for 25 years, and this is when we talk about homosexuals. Because who is supporting the person? The man that refuses to work. What does the woman look like that's supporting that type of man?
The strong black woman narrative.
Oh, we don't want to be strong no more.
No.
No.
Literally. Yeah. It's
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's such a mad cycle because based on something that if you decide to change, that one thing that you decided to work on could have changed the way you fell into that. And then I know somebody else that literally just lives their way through life by being in relationships and living with their girlfriend. Oh. And then living off universal credit. Not to have anything against that.
Yeah, of course.
Like the whole narrative of not wanting to actually be responsible for themselves first, but would rather just tread along life, having relationships and just living with women.
So when you see a grown man that is lazy, I'm talking about your bog standard, not working, not maintaining anything, probably not showing up as a father, whatever. Who do we blame? Or is there anyone to blame? Where does it come from?
Themselves.
Okay.
Because ultimately, at a point in your life, you're an adult. You have to choose. Am I going to make everything that I went through weigh me down to the point where I just want to stay in this rut? I'm going to be lazy. I don't want no responsibility. Or do you want more for yourself, honestly, and want to try and find a way to change it?
So for every lazy man, and people might not want to agree, people might come for me for this. Yeah. For every lazy man we see in the world. Yeah. Do we blame the woman that he's dating? Because it's an allowance. When you are lazy, there's someone that has to give you an allowance for your laziness. They're providing you food, shelter, somewhat of an allowance. Yeah. The state is going to do what the state is always going to do.
100%.
Because we live in a nanny state. Yeah. So it benefits our country to have people that are not willing to do certain things. Yeah. They know the games they're playing. Yeah. But when it goes a bit further, the person that affords you certain holidays, clothing, food, shelter, to a level that you've not necessarily worked for. Yeah. Do we now turn around and look at certain women and go, I mean, you're complaining, but you allowed him to be lazy?
I think there's a grey area of that. I think there's no harm in trying to help somebody rebuild themselves if they are willing to rebuild themselves and go through a lazy phase.
So what does willingness look like? The lazy man that you're looking at the potential that's willing to rebuild.
Yeah.
What is he acting like right now?
He should be continuously, every single day, trying to look for a job or trying to find ways to make money, whether it be through entrepreneurship, dropshipping. Like, there's so many things you can do. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, picking up the slack that she can't cover. Like, I shouldn't be at home and no washing is done, no food is cooked. I'm making the money while you're trying to sort yourself out, but you have more time on your hands.
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be a balance and it has to be a consistent behavior.
Yeah.
If there's not, then you're flat out lazy.
Okay, flat out lazy.
Yeah.
Because we have to be comfortable with modern times, things changing. The economy's been flipped on its back.
Yeah.
Inflation is crazy.
Yeah.
We have to be more accepting to some societal structures.
Yeah.
And some gender roles being chopped and changed depending on
100%.
what we're going through at this point in time.
Yeah.
So you're saying if a man's not working, you better be ready to wash some dishes.
Yeah, because, do you know, I don't look at it as a gender role thing. It's a partnership. And ultimately, wherever I fall short or I lack, you should be able to pick up, and vice versa. Like, it's a continuous balance all the time.
Yeah.
So ultimately, if we are in a situation where you're not working, even though you're actively looking for work and whatever it may be, like, if you have the room and time, you should be able to handle those things.
Yeah.
Like, it's about giving each other grace at every point you are in your life. If you're with someone for 20 years and they get made redundant, like, it can also fall into the same thing. There can also be an element of complacency to the point where it becomes laziness. So it's so scary, because if you don't nip it in the bud before it gets to that point, then it could be branded a very negative way in laziness.
So quick. Okay,
Yeah.
Ree, you say you're Miss Grey Area, yeah?
Yeah.
Let me throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
Okay. How long is too long for your man to be out of work before you say it's over?
In the current climate that we live in now?
Oh, since you're the queen of Grey Area, yeah, okay. Since in the current climate we're in, how long is too long for your man not to be working?
A year.
Yeah, okay, so you gonna have the patience of Mother Teresa for 1 year.
The only reason why I say that, I think because of my knowledge of recruitment
Yeah.
and like and I think for me, I'm never gonna come at a man until I've got all my research. Like, I'm never gonna come and address you with a conversation without having all my facts.
Okay.
Because I'm not gonna sit here and say to you, yeah, I need you to get a job in 3 months, and then you go for all these interviews and it doesn't happen based on your qualifications, your experience that I haven't taken into account. I just think you're in 3 months, you're just gonna get a job. I can't. I've been there too. I get it.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's about being realistic to the climate, to where he's at entirely in terms of his education and his experience, and gauging off that. I think a year is reasonable for me, because I understand what it takes in the process of getting to that point. And ultimately, if you're doing the things that you're supposed to do in that year to balance our dynamic, then I don't have a problem with that. But when we start getting into the second year, it gets a bit scary for me.
Okay, so that 1 year, just to be clear, you're paying all the bills.
Yeah.
Rent, utilities, food shop. As long as he's doing the domesticated tasks, you can manage it as long as he's actively searching within that year.
Yeah.
So what happens after the year?
After the year, then that's when the hardcore boundaries get set in play.
What does hardcore boundaries look
You
like
see,
to you?
for me,
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Oh.
And I'm not leaving my relationship, but I'm not an enabler.
Okay.
After a certain point, like, I'm not as cutthroat as it is, I also have to, and especially if you have children, I have to maintain my peace and be healthy and stress-free, and also make sure the children are good. Ultimately, if I have to get my own space and I have to go and do what I got to do in order for you to understand the dire situation that we're in, then that's what's going to have to happen. And unfortunately, I think because of my experience in my family, I feel like there's a certain point sometimes you should walk away from something to somebody to realize, because sometimes when you verbally say something, it may not mean anything to that person or carry the weight that you need it to. And action for me is so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I will stop cooking for you.
Yeah.
Hands down. Like, if you're not going to do what you committed to do in the relationship to make this happen, and it's surpassed a certain point, especially if there hasn't been a conversation about why we're at where we're at,
Yeah.
then I can't enable you. I just can't. I'd have to walk away from it. Because then what am I showing my children?
Oh, that you have to be an example. And some of
Yeah.
the most influential moments in a child's upbringing is the home.
Yeah.
Before they go to school, before they interact with other kids, it's what they're taking in at home.
Yeah.
So there might be a woman at home listening, watching, thinking, I think my man is lazy, but I'm not sure he's lazy.
Yeah.
Ree, what would be a final takeaway for you when it comes to someone that's realized they're dating someone that's lazy?
Assess your own value. Like, ask yourself, is this something that you are willing to put up with? If that is not the level that you require from that person, ultimately, I don't think it's about gauging them. It's about gauging yourself on what you're able to tolerate and not tolerate.
Yeah.
And if it supersedes a certain point for you, then it's something that you have to walk away from, because ultimately nobody's gonna want to change unless they want to change themselves. They don't want to change for you.
Yeah.
So no matter how much you be like, you're lazy, you need to do this, you need to do that, like, ultimately, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. They have to want to do it for themselves first. And if it's not for you, then rather than try to change somebody and manipulate them into changing, walk away and do you.
Walk away and do
Walk away and do you.
I think one thing I want to clarify to people in this day and age, I love the fact that you're like, okay, are we judging it based on today's economy? So I'm going to just speak in today's economy terms.
Yeah.
I think we need to clarify when it comes to coexisting with a man.
Yeah.
For you to define a lazy man, you need to know where you're at. So, for example, if you are living with your guy,
Yeah.
if he's not paying any bills,
Yeah.
no rent, no utilities, no food shop,
Yeah.
then okay, you're with a lazy man, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you're going 50-50,
Yeah.
sorry to tell you this, sis, you were the flatmate.
Yeah.
You were the flatmate. Let me
Yeah.
just say how it
Yeah.
is. Okay, because this is someone you're romantically inclined
Yeah.
with. That's your flatmate. If
Yeah.
you take sex out the equation, that's your flatmate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
You could be living with a sibling. If he's paying more than 50%,
Yeah.
or he's paying majority or all of it,
Yeah.
you're being taken care of.
Okay, but what if
Yeah.
he makes 25K
Mhm.
and you make 45K?
Yeah.
Do you still expect him to take on 75% of the financial responsibility?
So let me define this one, yeah?
Okay.
So when we're talking about being taken care of with someone that you're romantically inclined
Yeah.
with, if he's not doing this, what's
Yeah.
he doing somewhere else?
Okay.
So like you were talking about the example of, if you're going to be out of work, are you still handling things in the house
Yeah.
when I get back? Like laundry, cooking of
Yeah.
food, cleaning, things like that.
Yeah.
So even though a woman has that expendable income, a woman still has her own things to take care of.
100%, yeah.
That's more than what a man spends on himself, unless you're, I don't know, unless you got a taste for designer threads and you're
Yeah.
gambling, whatever.
Yeah.
Typically, a woman's upkeep is more than a man's
Yeah.
anyway. So if she's contributing what he's contributing, which is the bog standard, say they live in a place here. Okay, 25K. Let me do quick maths here. If
Yeah,
he's
1,500 probably rent. Yeah.
yeah, and he said, you know what, as a man, I'm gonna make sure this is always sorted, this is always taken care
Okay,
of.
yeah.
And he sticks to that and he's consistent in it.
Yeah.
Mind you, he's still doing date nights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you know your salary allows you to do a little bit more,
Yeah.
but he's still doing what he needs to do,
Yeah.
then you can still have a respect for him.
Okay.
I think where you lose respect for a man is where he can do something
Yeah.
comfortably, but he chooses not to.
Yeah.
Because that's now you volunteering to say, I could take care of you in this element on a romantic basis,
Yeah.
but I don't want to because I know how much you earn.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets a bit spiteful.
Yeah.
Because regardless of how much more your woman earns,
Yeah.
what do you volunteer to say as a man, I'm going to do this for our relationship?
Yeah.
A woman shouldn't have to say to a man, oh, can you do X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
When you know you can do it.
Yeah.
Any reasonable woman knows that you can't afford the rent that's to something.
Of course.
But if you know you can contribute X amount,
Yeah.
you should volunteer to do that
To
happily.
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of arguments happen when a man doesn't step up to responsibilities.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what he's earning.
No, of
I've had
course.
clients in the past where they've been heads of certain departments in big banks.
Yeah.
And her husband is a mechanic.
Yeah.
But he still offered up to say, oh, when it comes to the tenancy, I want to be on it. This is how much I do. This is how much I earn.
Yeah.
When she's in the office late nights, I'm the one that's picking up her child from
100.
nursery.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you got to
Yeah.
step up without having to be asked. I think a lot of
100%,
women
yeah.
get exhausted when they have to keep asking.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
But that
agree
was
with
a
that.
good one. That was a good curveball.
No, yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to see, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of people focus on the financial responsibility,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not understand that there's so much stuff around that can alleviate the pressure in being one-sided. Like,
Of course.
yeah.
Because the reason why I said the flatmate thing, and people are going to be like, oh, what does she mean? Why I say flatmate is because a lot of people will do 50-50,
Yeah.
but the woman's doing a triple shift.
100%. Yeah.
So she's doing 50% down.
Don't forget to subscribe to Hey Sis UK so you never miss out on an episode.
So I think a lot of people will hear, oh yeah, if you're going 50-50 with your guy,
yeah.
he's a flatmate, and be like, oh, that's a bit ridiculous. No, what I mean is that we need to avoid going 50-50
Yeah.
if you're still doing the triple shift.
100%.
Why are you going 50-50 down the middle with someone when it comes to your living situation?
Yeah.
But you're still showing up in 3 different capacities in your relationship.
Yeah.
And he's still showing up as one.
Yeah.
So if you're going 50-50 down the middle, but you're still doing the school run, I mean, dropping off and picking up.
Yeah.
You're coming back from doing 40 hours a week yourself, and you're still doing cooking the meals and dessert.
Yeah.
And you're even bringing it on a tray serving him.
Yeah.
I work full time too.
Exactly.
And then mind you still got all your own personal stuff to do in your life.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
No, it's not, because your relationship then comes 80-20 the whole way through.
And you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because on paper, if you discuss it with your partner,
Yeah.
they'll be like, yeah, I'm doing 52. Yeah, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
That's all you do.
Yeah.
And you look great. You look like you're getting sleep.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
Remember when our baby was crying and I woke up?
Exactly.
And I was changing.
Yeah.
Because you had work in the morning.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the conversations need to be had in the sense of, what are we doing in this portion of our relationship? But
Yeah.
also in other portions of our relationship, is it still 50-50?
100. Yeah.
But yeah, ooh, that was something.
Yes. I don't know. I think the brand Lazy is, I guess it's too much of a blanket in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like on top of that, because of what the level and standard a man should be at, like there's no kind of like in between. It's either one extreme or another.
Yeah.
You're either lazy or you're not. And it's hard though, because I think I don't think men are within the realm of men. There's no breakdown in terms of what they do when it's men by men comparison.
Yeah.
But the moment that there's a woman comparison, it matters about what job they do.
Yeah.
Because you can still work in Sainsbury's in a checkout and still be branded as lazy, because you're not doing enough to reach a certain standard that somebody feels like you should be.
Yeah, because you know what's so funny? There's a conversation about, a current conversation now is, do you earn enough to feel like you have the right to date?
Yeah.
And a lot of people put pressures on themselves, where I know quite a few people that they've said, sis, I have no business dating because I earn X amount. And I'm like, rah, is that how you feel? Like, you're not even going to entertain a girl. You're not going to start a family, nothing. And it's so sad, because you don't know where God's going to take you.
100%.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
But because you earn X amount now,
Yeah.
you've already counted yourself out
Yeah.
as not being even worthy to find love.
Yeah.
As a man, the times we're living in is harsh.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, look at our parent generation. They were not rolling in it. And they
No.
fully said with chest, not only am I going to find someone, I'm going to get married.
Exactly.
I'm going to move to another country. I'm going to have children. What? They're giving out council houses. Let me get one of them as well.
Too. Yeah.
Let me get
literally.
2 of those.
Yeah, for real.
I think, and you know what, people might take this the wrong way, but men of today's generation, I think they need to speak. If you've got a dad, an uncle of a certain generation, especially if they're not from this country, be like, yo, how did you have the confidence to say, I'm getting everything I want?
I think they very much had a mentality of by any means necessary, but I think there wasn't the pressures that we have now.
Yeah.
I think society and social media have a lot to play, a big part to play on the pressures that men feel around those areas. And I think back then they didn't have that outside noise. Like, it was very much like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to get it done by any means necessary. When I look at my granddad, like, my granddad worked so much to provide for his family. I never complained once. And it's just like, for me, I think it takes a certain type of man to block out the noise and do what he has to do.
It's true. There's no outside noise.
No.
The average man has to work like a dog.
Yeah.
Then go on social media.
Yeah.
And then feel like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah. Literally.
Same with women as well.
100%.
You can feel like, yeah, you know what? I've done X, Y, Z. I'm really happy. And then you go on and you're just like, oh, is this the new standard now?
Literally.
Is this what we got to keep
Yeah.
up with? Man, I've held myself back from posting pictures sometimes because I'm just like, oh, this ain't the standard.
But you know, it is, yeah, it's really about self-assurance.
Yeah, it's true.
It is really about self-assurance. Like, I know they say you go to school and you hit this peer pressure stage, and it's really about learning you and being comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And really blocking out that noise. Ultimately, I think we forget when we look at somebody else's situation, we forget about our own walk and how grateful we are to be where we are, rather than looking over there and being like, I want that because it looks like that. But ultimately, are you even that person to be accepting of that? Like, are you that person that over there, whatever shiny thing it is, have you done the work on you in order for you to have that?
It's true. And I will say one thing about myself, if I could just have a slight vulnerable moment, is that I've noticed that I'm not grateful enough.
Girl.
And I need to practice gratitude. But I didn't realize how hard it was for me to actually actively practice gratitude.
I'm going to plug you.
Plug me. Plug everybody.
I bought something called the 5-minute journal.
Okay.
Like, I'm someone, I like to write, but I wanted something that was going to be short and sweet and hold me accountable every day. And the beautiful thing about the 5-minute journal, there's 3 lines for each section. You write, so it breaks it down for you. So you write in the morning and you write in the night. And it basically teaches you how to, like, find spaces to write in, make sure you're in a peaceful environment and things like that. But it's straight to the point. There's no trying to, like, beat around the bush about what you're grateful for. Like, the answer is direct. What are you grateful for? What is your highlights of the day? What do you want today to look like? And it holds me more accountable for thinking about gratitude every day, rather than just, like, trying to find ways to pull on it and find it. Like, it's all there on paper for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the 5-minute journal.
The 5-minute journal.
I can just get that on eBay, right?
Yeah. Amazon.
Oh, easy. Amazon.
Yeah.
We don't do. Actually, if there's a check from eBay.
No.
Actually, girl, I love eBay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon. It's really good. It holds you accountable to gratitude, and that's something I needed help with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when people say it, it's like, oh yeah, be gracious and show gratitude.
Yeah.
And then you're like, bro, this gratitude thing ain't easy.
It's not.
So when I see the older generation growing up, they always say stuff like, oh, thank God, to God be the glory.
Yeah.
Without God. And you think, oh, it's so easy to say, but they must have gone through something for them to always feel the need to say it, because it's so easy not to be grateful.
Yeah. Like, my aunties, every time they leave and they say bye to us and they love us, they like, God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think for them, the weight of life is so important to them. Like, I wish to have that for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's that power of the tongue so effortlessly that you see from the older generation that you're like, I got to practice that more.
Yeah.
But, Ree, thank you for just blessing us with your presence.
No problem.
Our Hey Sis fam, I know you're going to eat this one up. Guys, before you go, Ree, is there anything that we should look forward to, look out for?
At the moment, just my artist at the moment, he's got some stuff coming out, so that, and then just mainly artist development stuff basically. But anybody that wants to be developed or wants any consulting on development, hit me up.
Hit her up. The socials are going to be everywhere. You can't miss it. We have the GoFundMe, donate. But if you also feel like you've got a role yourself, you're skilled to elevate Hey Sis UK, then send us an email at yezzir@gmail.com. Until then, make sure you like, subscribe. Don't be stingy to drop a comment. Slide in the DMs if you got a dilemma. And more importantly, stay blessed. Bye.
She move like a queen and I like what I see and I wanna get more of that.
I undress and he blows success. Lay down as you decompress. Come mine and forget the stress. Got the 9 to 5 cause he tryna change his life. He can't help it but to show his bad side. So he call me Yezzi when he want that good ride. Follow my stride, you know you want a good time. Pick any card, I know it won't decline. He know how to please me, never tease me. Keep me in Givenchy, laced in Gucci. Quick, take the keys and drive to Chelsea. He is Scalini, order linguine. He ordered the chateau, we got it to go, then flew to the chateau. You already know, friends telling me